you. Okay, and my last presentation today is with Michael D'Angelo and what I've learned from beekeeping.
Yes. Yes, I'm a beekeeper. And I thought I'd share with you sort of the 14 of like the million things that I've learned. And I'll start with maybe a little bit of vocabulary. So the first thing to know is, so I have an apiary in my backyard. That's what it looks like. An apiary is a collection of hives. A hive is actually a home for a colony of bees, and there's one queen per colony. So there's 4 hives, 4 colonies. Each one of those boxes has, a queen in it. Now, most people number their hives. That's kind of boring. I name them, and I'm a bit of a geek. So I name my colonies things like Canceron, Sagittarion, Aileron, Caprica. Do you guys recognize the reference? Yeah, Galactica, fellow geeks in the room, yay. All right, so let's kind of open up a hive and see what it looks like. So there's a top cover. That's one of my daughters opening up a top cover, and then it's exposing the inner cover. And you can, from that inner cover, it's where we feed the bees. We kind of inspect them, and you can see the bee entrance there right in the front. Now, if we remove the inner cover, now we can actually start to see the bees. And so in that box, that hive box, there you can see the bees kind of running around, and there's a frame, and she's pulling out a frame, yes, with her bare hands, bunch of chickens. So she's pulling out the frame, and then we can look at the frame and see kind of what the bees are doing. And so she's checking it out, and you can see the bees on the right sort of creating their comb and doing the thing that they do. So that's kind of the first thing, and the second thing. The third thing that I've learned about bees is they're actually pretty tame. So there's one of my other daughters. She's got about 2,000 bees 2 inches away from her face. Still, you guys are a bunch of chickens. And you can actually pet honeybees. They are so focused on their purpose of just collecting, foraging, etc. You can actually pet them on flowers. So number 4, yellow jackets are not bees. Stop insulting them, all right? So yellow jackets are predators. They're carnivores. They feed their young meat. The honeybees and other types of bees are herbivores. Those things you swat, those aren't bees. So there's another sort of creature that shares a same order. So for the mammals, we've got the wet-nosed small brains, and then we've got the great apes. So a yellow jacket is as close to a honeybee as a lemur is to a human. So number 5, there are 3 classes of bees in a hive. There's a queen. There's only one per hive. It's a female, obviously. A drone, which is a male. That's the big thing. And there's a worker, which is like 99% of the hive, and they do all the work, and they're females, just like in the human race. So the number 6 thing is that queens, being a queen is not glamorous. They basically have one purpose, which is to lay eggs. And if they don't do a good job at that, they actually get replaced. The workers will create new queens, which is fascinating. So how do you create a new queen? A queen bee and a regular worker bee are actually the same thing. They're born the same way. Their difference is they're fed a different diet. They're given royal jelly. So their diet is what makes them a queen. So that's kind of cool. Number 8, drones. Their lives suck. So they have one purpose in life, which is to mate, which kind of sounds awesome, except they don't really get a chance to mate. It's pretty rare. And when they do mate, they die. Okay? So that kind of sucks. The queens, they kind of play the field a bit. So they only mate once, but they mate with like a dozen or so other male bees. And then they go back, and that's it. That's all the mating they do for their entire life. And they might live for about 5 years. So what's another thing? Number 10, I guess. What bees forage? Well, they forage pollen. That's what they feed their young. They also forage nectar. That's what they drink and eat. They forage water, not to drink, but to cool their hive. Yes, they invented air conditioning 1 million years ago. And they also forage sap to disinfect their hive. Now, contrary to the YouTube video that my daughter put out with a bee flying out of my ear, they do not forage wax. They actually produce wax from glands on their abdomen. And you can see in the bottom picture they're forming the comb. Number 12, how is honey made? It's not puked up. Basically, they collect nectar from a flower. They store it in a special sac called a honey sac. They put it into a honeycomb, and it's about 80% moisture. And then they basically evaporate that moisture, and it produces honey. And then what we do is we take those frames, because we're evil, and we cut off the caps, put them in a centrifuge, spin it out, and out comes honey at $8 a pint. And it tastes all yummy. All right. So number 13 is there's different levels of bee sting reaction. One's local, gross, and then allergic. This is actually a local reaction. My daughter, she got stung in the nose. During that picture, she actually got stung 3 more times. She said, Daddy, I blame those last 3 on you. But you never know. The last thing I learned is you never know where inspiration comes from. So this is our label for our honey and our lip balm. It's Fat Eye. And that's my daughter right there. So those are the 14 of the million things that I've learned. Thank you very much.